radio enthusiasts, welcome to another video from the Roaring Twenties Antique Radio Museum. In this video we'll be investigating the history of a company that was once one of the biggest conglomerates in the world, General Electric. By 1889, Thomas Edison had business interests in many companies. Drexel Morgan Company, which had backed Edison Financial many times over the years, convinced Edison he should merge most of his companies under one corporation, and Edison agreed. On April 4th of that year, Edison's many companies became one, Edison General Electric Company. Later that year, the new corporation bought Sprague Electric Railway and Motor Company, a manufacturer of trolley cars, among other things. 3 years later, in 1892, Edison General Electric would buy Thomson Houston Electric Company and drop Edison's name from the company. Going forward, the company would be known as General Electric. Over the years, GE would continue to grow, adding more and more companies to the GE label. In 1919, urged on by the U.S. government, GE President Owen D. Young would form a new company, the Radio Corporation of America, or RCA. RCA was a patent trust and would control almost all the important radio patents that had been granted up until that time. GE, along with Westinghouse, AT&T, and the United Fruit Company would all come under control of RCA. RCA would be the sales agent for GE and other associated companies. At the time RCA was formed, GE was not making radios for the general public. They were involved in ship-to-ship and ship-to-shore communications. RCA gave GE a $2,000 grant to develop a receiver for the general public. The receiver turned out to be a dead end and was never manufactured. Although GE was slow to get into the radio receiver business, the company wasn't wasting much time in getting into broadcasting. The company had been broadcasting since 1915 with an experimental license under the call sign 2XI. A new radio station was being built at GE's Schenectady, New York manufacturing plant in late 1921. It would be the most powerful in the nation at 1,500 watts. The federal government granted GE a license in February 1922 with a call sign WGY. General Electric built another radio station in Oakland, California. The new station, KGO, had its first broadcast on January 8, 1924. KGO was a 1,000 watt broadcasting station on 312 meters or 960 kilohertz. In 1924, GE quickly followed up with a third radio station, call sign KOA, in Denver, Colorado. KOA's first broadcast was on December 15, 1924. Through the 1920s, most of radio broadcasting was controlled by RCA, Westinghouse, AT&T, and General Electric, known then as the Radio Group. As a result of that control, there was very little competition, and pressure was being put on the federal government to change that situation. Finally, it did. In May of 1930, the government brought an antitrust lawsuit against all four companies. 2 years of negotiations with the federal government resulted in an agreement that Westinghouse and General Electric would sell their interests in RCA. Not long after, General Electric sold 2 of its 3 company-owned stations, KGO and KOA. GE would maintain ownership of WGY. When Westinghouse joined RCA, an agreement was reached with GE and Westinghouse that GE would manufacture 60% of the radios RCA would sell, and Westinghouse would manufacture 40%. Westinghouse had a head start on GE when it came to radio manufacturing. In 1921, Westinghouse had already introduced the first mass-produced radio products to the public, the RA tuner and the DA amplifier. Initially, GE was reluctant to dive into manufacturing radios for the general public. GE's first radios would come out in 1922 and included the ER753 crystal set, the AR1300, the AA1520, and the AA1400. In 1924, at General Electric's Schenectady, New York plant, GE would manufacture their first super heterodyne radios, the AR812 portable and the Super 8 console. By 1925, GE and Westinghouse were working together to manufacture radios. General Electric continued to acquire other businesses over the coming decades as the company grew into a behemoth. However, in the early 2000s, the Securities and Exchange Commission discovered that GE was cooking the books to make the company's financial position look stronger than it actually was. The company had become bloated, and when the 2008 recession hit, GE stock plummeted. In 2009, the company cut its stock dividend as things continued to go downhill for GE. By 2017, the company was forced to sell off some of its divisions. In 2018, after over a century as part of the Dow Jones Industrial Index, the company was dumped from the index. The Fortune 500 index ranked GE as the fourth largest U.S. company in 2010, but by 2021 it had sunk to 38th. Today, General Electric is still a very large company. Last year, GE made over $20 billion in profit. That's it for this video. There will be more to come as we continue to investigate the early history of the world's first mass medium, radio. Thanks for watching.